At just 21 years old, Billy the Kid was not only running from the law, he was running from a territory that had decided his story should end in the dirt. Across New Mexico, wanted posters carried his name like a curse. Posses rode through dust and darkness. Sheriffs chased rumors through saloons. Ranchers lowered their voices when hoofbeats passed in the night. And somewhere beyond the lantern light, a thin young outlaw with pale eyes, a quick smile, and a revolver on his hip kept slipping away. But the legend is cleaner than the truth. The legend says Billy the Kid was a born killer, a phantom of the frontier, a boy who laughed at death and left bodies behind him. The truth is stranger, sadder, and more human. He was a child of poverty, an orphan, a fugitive shaped by hunger, violence, and a lawless country where justice could be bought, sold, or shot down in the street. He became famous in a place where fame was often fatal, and once the American West turned him into a symbol, it hunted him until there was nowhere left to hide. This is the life, manhunt, and downfall of Billy the Kid. Before he was Billy the Kid, he was Henry McCarty. He was born around 1859, most likely in New York City, though even that detail is uncertain. His early life was not the clean beginning of an outlaw tale. It was unstable, restless, and full of loss. His mother, Catherine, moved west with her sons, searching for health, work, and a fresh start. Like thousands of others, they followed the frontier's promise, where towns rose from dust and hope, then filled with gambling halls, sickness, debt, and graves. The family eventually reached Silver City, New Mexico. There, Henry was remembered as small, bright, and quick-witted. Not yet a monster, not yet a myth, just a boy trying to survive in a rough mining town. Then his mother died of tuberculosis while he was still a teenager. That loss seems to have split his life in two. Without her, Henry drifted. He stole food, then clothing, then was arrested. The crimes were small, but the consequences were not. In that world, a poor boy with no protection could be crushed before he understood the system closing around him. He escaped custody by crawling up a chimney and disappearing into the night. It was not a grand outlaw beginning. It was a frightened teenager running because no one was coming to save him. From there, Henry moved through Arizona and New Mexico under different names. Henry Antrim, Kid Antrim, William Bonney, Billy, the Kid. Names became masks. Masks became survival. In 1877, in Arizona, he killed Frank Cahill after a fight. Billy claimed self-defense. Whether the law would have believed him hardly mattered. He was young, poor, and already marked as trouble. So he ran again. Each escape pushed him deeper into the life he would become known for. Each accusation narrowed the road behind him. The boy who once stole to eat was becoming a fugitive. Then came Lincoln County. New Mexico in the late 1870s was not the romantic West of dime novels. It was a territory of political corruption, private armies, cattle interests, rival merchants, and lawmen whose badges often served whoever paid them best. Lincoln County was tense before Billy arrived. Two powerful business factions fought for control. On one side stood the established mercantile empire known as the House, connected to influential men and backed by force. On the other were challengers, including Englishman John Tunstall and lawyer Alexander McSween. Tunstall hired young men for his ranch. Billy became one of them. For a brief time, he may have found something close to belonging. Tunstall treated him with respect. To a young drifter who had lost family, trust, and any clear future that mattered. Then, in February 1878, John Tunstall was killed by members of a posse tied to the rival faction. For Billy, it was more than murder. It was another protector gone, another proof that law in New Mexico could wear a badge and still carry murder in its hands. The killing ignited the Lincoln County War. Billy joined the regulators, who claimed they were seeking legal justice for Tunstall's death. But in Lincoln County, justice quickly became revenge. Warrants were issued, ambushes followed. Men on both sides died. Billy was not the mastermind, but he became one of the war's most recognizable fighters. His youth, charm, and daring made him memorable. His enemies made him notorious. And newspapers did what they often did in the Old West, turned violence into story. The conflict reached a bloody climax in July 1878 during the Battle of Lincoln. McSween's house was surrounded. Gunfire cracked through town. Flames consumed the building. Men trapped inside tried to escape through smoke and chaos. McSween was killed. Billy escaped. Again. By then, the kid's legend had begun to harden. He was no longer simply Henry McCarty, the orphan. He was Billy the Kid, a wanted man tangled in a war that powerful people wanted to forget. After the Lincoln County War, a new governor arrived. Lew Wallace, a former Union general and future author of Ben-Hur. Wallace wanted order. Billy wanted a pardon. For a moment, it seemed possible. Billy agreed to testify about events in Lincoln County. He believed he had been promised leniency. He turned himself in, gave testimony, and waited for the system to keep its word. But promises on the frontier could vanish like footprints in wind. The pardon did not come. Billy escaped custody again, convinced he had been betrayed. From then on, his options shrank. He returned to rustling, gambling, drifting, and hiding among friends in New Mexico. He was fluent in Spanish, comfortable in Hispanic communities, and by many accounts, sociable, even likable. That made him harder to catch. People protected him. Some admired him. Some feared the men hunting him more than they feared him. But the territory was changing. The age of loose borders and private vengeance was closing. Railroads, newspapers, courts, cattle empires, and political power were tightening their grip. The outlaw who survived in the gaps between systems was being trapped as those systems grew stronger. And then came Pat Garrett. Garrett had known Billy. They had moved in some of the same circles. He was not a distant lawman chasing a faceless criminal. He was hunting someone whose voice, habits, and friends he understood. In 1880, Garrett was elected sheriff of Lincoln County. His mission was clear: bring in Billy the Kid. The manhunt intensified. Garrett and his deputies followed rumors across cold, empty stretches of New Mexico. They watched ranches, questioned contacts, and waited near places where Billy might seek shelter. In December 1880, the pursuit closed in near Stinking Springs. Billy and several companions were surrounded. After a freezing standoff, they surrendered. For once, Billy the Kid did not escape into the night. He was tried for the killing of Sheriff William Brady, shot during the Lincoln County War. In April 1881, Billy was convicted and sentenced to hang. The date was set. For a man whose life had been one long flight, the courtroom must have felt like a box nailed shut. The law had caught him. The newspapers had their ending. The territory had its villain. But Billy still had one more escape left. He was held in the Lincoln County Courthouse. On April 28, 1881, while Garrett was away, Billy made his move. The exact details remained debated, but the result was undeniable. He killed 2 guards, James Bell and Bob Olinger, and fled. It was a grim, desperate escape, not a magic trick. 2 men were dead. A condemned prisoner was loose. And Billy's legend exploded. People told the story again and again. The kid outwitting his captors, seizing a weapon, walking out of a courthouse where he had been waiting to die. To admirers, it was daring. To lawmen, it was humiliation. To Garrett, it was unfinished business. Now the hunt became personal, urgent, and final. Billy did not flee far enough. That is one of the darkest parts of his downfall. He could have tried for Mexico. He could have vanished into a larger city, changed names again, buried himself among strangers. Instead, he stayed in familiar country, near people he trusted, in the same network of ranches, friends, and old loyalties that had protected him before. Maybe he believed he was still lucky. Maybe he believed Garrett would not find him. Maybe, after a life of running, he simply had nowhere else that felt real. In July 1881, Garrett tracked him to Fort Sumner, New Mexico, where Billy was staying near the home of Pete Maxwell. The town was quiet. The night was dark. The manhunt narrowed to a room, a shadow, and a moment. Late on July 14th, Billy entered Maxwell's darkened bedroom, reportedly asking in Spanish, "Who is it?" Garrett was waiting. He fired. Billy the Kid fell dead at about 21 years old. No dramatic duel in the street. No blazing showdown beneath a red sunset. No heroic last stand. Just confusion, darkness, and a gunshot in a room where the hunted man did not know the hunter was already there.